Hello, everyone. Thank you once again for watching us to another live streaming session. And today I have my sister, Camille. She immigrated here in Canada in January, and she processed the same program that I use, which is called the AIPP or Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. So today we will be talking about how to become successful in immigrating here in Canada. Camille will provide us some tips on how you could increase your chances or opportunities of coming and immigrating here in Canada. Camille will also be sharing us some of her experiences of she being a new immigrant here in Canada, specifically in the province of New Brunswick. So I hope that you would learn from this live streaming today. And for those who are just new in our live streaming session, my name is Ray, and I immigrated here in Canada in October 2018 through AIPP in Newfoundland and Labrador. And now I live here in Alberta, Canada, in specifically in Camrose because I got a job here. So before we start, for those who are actually watching us, if you have not done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and please hit the like button as well and notification bell so you would get notified whenever I post or upload new videos. I also completed an immigration practitioner's diploma here in Canada. That's why I am posting videos and tips and share information about how you could come and immigrate here in Canada. So if you are free, please feel free to visit my videos. And I explain several programs such as AIPP, RNIP, OINP, and other programs. I also created videos how you could create your resume and format it to a Canadian standard, and tips on how you could find an employer here in Canada, even you are outside of Canada. So for those who are watching as well, please put the comment in our comment box, the country where you are watching, so that I would be able to know who are watching us today. And also you have an opportunity to raise your questions, your clarifications about Canada immigration, and of course our topic for today. So okay, so without further ado, here is Camille, and maybe she could share us her experience, how she immigrated here in Canada, so you would know her journey and her experience. So Camille, are you ready?
Yeah, I don't remember what happened
Yeah,
actually.
so maybe you could enlighten or your share experience, like how you find your employer, how you process through AIPP, what are the requirements, what are the process, and like approximate timeline, how long did it actually take you?
Okay, so I found my employer through you. So you were able to connect to some of the successful applicants of AAPP. And basically, you told me which employers were hiring at that time, at that period of time. So I just sent an application randomly. I specifically sent an application with Cytel. And Cytel got back to me, I think, in a month. After that, it's just one interview. It's just a Skype interview. And after that one interview, I got hired immediately. The process was supposed to take like only 6 months in total from hiring to going to Canada, but mine took like a year and a half. So getting the endorsement itself took like a year at most, because of some backlogs and change of rules. So back then, during the beginning, they were not requiring for us to get, um, I think, IELTS.
Okay, else
Like IELTS, you will only submit it
when you're
in
applying
yeah
for
in
the permanent
IRCC,
residence, yeah.
but not for the endorsement. And they were also not requiring us for the ECA. So ECA also just for IRCC for the permanent residents. But then there were so many denied application because of the insufficiency of the requirements that they started to require during the endorsement stage the ECA and the IELTS. As per them, like a lot of endorsements are getting wasted because when they try to pass it in the IRCC level for the permanent residence level, basically it's getting denied because the requirements are insufficient. During the time, they also encouraged us to pool our funds because one of the main reasons of getting rejected is not having enough proof of funds that, like, you can maintain yourself in Canada. um, it was quite a rough journey for me, simply because when I got my endorsement and I applied after like a month after I lodged my application for the permanent residence, I received the information the title is actually closing its physical site, and they will be transitioning into a work from home model. Because of that, there was a chance that my application will be denied because my employer might or might not take me anymore.
Okay.
Luckily, I got it. So I still pushed through with the application, and I still flew to Canada despite the risks of not having an employer here.
Okay, so let's go back to finding an employer because as you mentioned, I was able to look for an employer for you, right? I referred you to an employer that contact details of an employer that I found from a colleague in our Facebook group, Successful in Canada Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. So I just want to confirm with you, do you think that your resume, for example, because obviously the first part of job hunting or job searching is sending the resume, right? Did
Mm-hmm.
you do something about your resume or like to make it appealing, or was it like the same format that you had in the past?
Yeah, so the first step, of course, is having the proper resume and the cover letter, which will highlight your competencies, basically my competencies. It has to be in Canadian format for it to stand out. Imagine like there's like thousands of applicants who wants to go to Canada, and your resume will be the first step to be noticed by the employer. It really has to stand out. It has to set you apart from your like from your competitors. So I had to tailor it in a Canadian format. I have to make sure that my qualifications are being highlighted, my skills, my experience. I have to make sure that it's getting shown that um, I am deserving to be there. I am like they should take me. Yeah, because that's the first thing that will be noticed.
Yeah, and another thing that we could say or I could add when it comes to resume, as what my sister mentioned, because your resume is like giving a very good first impression to the employers, right? Even without them knowing you personally or through interview, they would be able to make impressions already just by looking at your resume. That is why it is very important that your resume looks professional. So when it comes to when we say professional, it has to be grammatically correct. It
Format
has to
correct.
be properly formatted. It has to be free from spelling errors. And that is one of the reasons why when you are applying for a job in Canada or anywhere in the world, it is very important that you exert your effort
Exactly.
in creating a very good CV or resume, because obviously we also need to consider that these employers are receiving several applications, not just one or two, most probably hundreds of resumes, and these people would not have enough time
Mm,
to spend and to browse all the resumes and go through them one by one. And obviously if they see or if your resume stands out from the rest, you would definitely get a better chance of being called for an interview, right?
Exactly. So, the thing with the Canadian resume is they don't require you to put your date of birth. They don't require you to put your height, how you look like. They don't require you to put a picture, for example. It's all just texts and letters. So you have to make sure that it looks as professional as possible. Um, Proper fonts, spacing, paragraph, everything has to be there. Grammar should be properly done simply because the Canadian format, like Canadian resume format, is like almost like a paragraph like. It already will show like your competency there. It will already show if you can speak proper English, if you can be taken here, if you can survive here. So you really have to highlight your qualifications in that resume.
Yes, that is correct. So if you have questions about Canada standard format, on this video, I will put a link because I created a video on how you could prepare your CV and how you would be able to meet the Canadian standard format. So I think going through that video would be very helpful because that's the same format of resume that I use and the same format of resume that my
Exactly.
sister used because when she was applying, of course, I sent her the copy or the format of my resume, and that's how she patterned her CV. And as what she said, I said, we both got a call from a Canadian employer. So for sure, that is something that is working and definitely something that would work for you as well. Okay, so moving on. So we already discussed about the resume. What about the interview? Could you please give us some pointers or some tips on how you could nail the interview of your with the
I just
employer?
wanted to add something about the resume. I would also recommend if you guys will have a cover letter on top of the resume, which will somehow explain like the gaps in your resume. Like for example, if there are some period of time that you were unemployed, why? You just have to highlight what were you doing there. Were you doing something worthwhile? Were you trying to study? Were you trying to learn something? Just to make the employer see that this person deserves to be here.
Okay, yeah, that's a very good point as well.
So as for the interview, I always say that the person who should know yourself is yourself. It's like, you have to know yourself. You have to know what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses. For your weaknesses, how do you work on it? You have problem with your time management, you have to tell to the
Sure.
employer, to the interviewer, that I have problem with time management, but I'm trying to manage it by setting an alarm, using a reminder, using calendars and stuff. You have to make sure that you are a work in progress, and despite having like, how do you call it, if you are lacking on something, you are working
Yeah.
on it.
So basically, I would say it's a matter of you identifying your strengths, admitting it to yourself, and it is very important that the employer sees that you are working on it, because obviously nobody is perfect. Everyone has his own weaknesses, flaws, and that is one of the reasons why you have to know yourself, right? Because of course the employer will hire you knowing that you are taking actions of something that is you are lacking or something that is needed to be improved to you as a person. And because obviously when employers are actually hiring people, they are also thinking or looking at you personally as a person. Because I think some one big mistake that people are always thinking when they're actually undergoing an
Mm,
interview is that they would want to market themselves how they want to be in the
mm,
future. But in reality, employers are actually trying to know who you are as a person, because obviously
exactly.
when you're joining in a team or a company, the employer wants to know what you could bring, what your personality, and how you could jive with the team members who are
Exactly.
already there, right?
Especially like being said that Canada is a very diverse culture, and to be honest, they want to put as much diversity as possible, and they want to make sure that despite being diverse in the company, you will be able to jive, to mingle with other nationalities. For example, with the company that I am working right now, we promote diversity as much as possible. We don't care which background you came from, what's your gender, how well do you speak English. As long as you're able to identify yourself with the company, they will take you. So you have to really show who you are, and not just, you don't have to lie about who you are. You have to make sure that you are delivering yourself in a proper way, but not lie, like, because they somehow know it. They can
Mm.
detect it.
Yeah, that is true. So, Camille, maybe it would be helpful if you could share some of the interview questions, if you still remember them. Like, what are the type of questions that have been asked to you, so people would have a good understanding of how the interview in Canada, and they would also realize, is there really a difference of getting a job interview in Canada, or is it the same interview questions that they would actually get when they're applying from their home countries too?
I don't remember a lot, but I remember that the questions were few and it was very common. The first thing that she asked me was, tell me something about yourself, which is the foundation of all sorts of interview. After that, because it's a customer service position that I applied into, she asked, like, how do I handle pressure, how do I handle complaints, how do I feel about people getting angry at me or frustrated at some things. Basically, whatever questions you encounter in an interview somewhere else is the same here.
Yeah, that's really true. And also one tip to people who are actually doing job searching, preparing for interview, is do not pretend, because as what my sister mentioned, is like when you pretend, the employer would know. And at the same time, do not put lies on your resume or CV, because most of them, or almost all interviews, are actually being based on what you have put in your resume, and definitely they would want to verify these information that you have in your resume through asking you practical questions, like how you would, in your previous jobs or in your current jobs, what you have been doing, how would you address questions, scenarios, and so on and so forth, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so when you have done the interview, like, did it really take long for you to get a feedback from the
No.
employer?
So I applied. So with Sitel, they send an automated message like you will be receiving a feedback in like 3 days or 2 weeks. I cannot remember exactly. And I didn't receive any feedback. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I didn't get it. It's okay. I can just try with another company. There's other opportunities for me. Basically, I didn't give up. And it was quite a surprise because after a month, I received an email from the HR. So I didn't actually send an email to the HR directly. I wanted to prove to myself that I can do it by myself without getting so many connections. So I applied by myself on the company site. So she reached out to me like after a month. She asked me to do like an aptitude test.
Okay, so after the interview, then you were asked to do
No,
the
they asked me
assessment.
first to do the aptitude
Oh, you did
test.
the assessment first before the interview.
Yeah. So
Okay.
after the aptitude test, that's when they set up the interview. And on the interview itself, like on the spot, she told me that I'm hired.
Okay, that is good to know.
So I didn't have to wait like 1 month or 2 months. So she told me I'm hired, and she explained to me how the process will be, what the requirements will be. And yeah, I remember she told me like we will be requiring you to take an IELTS and an ECA. although it's not required with the endorsement, but it will be required with the permanent residence.
Okay, that's good. So basically, they explain to you what the process is
Yeah.
going to, what are the requirements, and like certain timelines. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, just also to let you know, my employer didn't ask for any sort of money. So, if an employer asks you for a big amount of money, that might be something fishy. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is a very good tip because I know with lots of desperation, people are very much desperate to come and immigrate here in Canada. And just by getting an interview, they're even offering money to the employers, thinking that they could bribe the employer to hire them. So you just need to be cautious as well and be wary if you encounter these um, employers where they're asking you some money in exchange of getting hired. You need to be careful as well and ask and be analytic if it's really because you wouldn't know, right? Maybe it's not genuine employer, right?
Exactly.
Because employers are here because that is their job. Their job is to hire the right candidates, the right applicants, and not to get paid for a job offer. So that is a very good tip.
Mm.
What about during the times that you were actually getting your requirements? So let's say, as you said, your ECA, your IELTS, your employment certificates.
Mm.
So is there any challenges or?
So, one good tip about the reference letter is there were some people, I know some people who didn't get an endorsement simply because their job description doesn't match the job description that they currently have. So, you have to make sure that the reference letter will be tailored to the job that you are applying for. So with me, for example, I applied for customer service, and I had to make sure that on my reference letter it's tailored on my NOC. I had to make sure that it's not like it's a match. Basically, I have to make sure that it's a match, and it doesn't necessarily need to come from the HR. It can come to it can come from your supervisor, from your manager, just anybody who can testify, like your upper line, of course, who can testify that you are actually doing this job and you are not just, making up stories that I am actually doing. So I was a receptionist in Dubai, in Najman actually, and I was really doing a customer service job. So what I put in the reference letter are the customer service related duties and responsibilities, and I got it. There are some, like for example, he was like almost a supervisor, and that's what he put on his reference letter, and
Yeah.
he didn't get the endorsement
Oh wow.
because it was not a match. So there was also one who, his job is totally different from being a customer service, and he didn't get it. And unfortunately, because of that, they were not able to apply for PR.
Oh, that's very unfortunate.
Yeah. So despite, we waited for more than a year, and in the end, some of us were not able to apply for PR because of that.
Yeah. So in short, what my sister was telling is that because I have received several questions like, oh, can they apply for a job that is different from the NOC of their current job? So what my sister is trying to explain was when she was applying, she was a front office agent in a hotel. But the job that she actually applied for is a customer service representative. So basically, tasks, duties, and responsibilities are somehow similar. However, NOC codes are different. So, in short, it is okay to apply for a different NOC from your current job as
As long
long
as
as
it's
related and the duties and responsibilities are almost similar. Because when you are actually presenting your reference letters as one of the requirements, you have to put in the duties and responsibilities of that position. And they will actually compare that to the NOC duties and responsibilities of the job that you are actually applying for permanent residence
Yeah.
for.
So, for example, for my case, I was a front office agent, but still, I am answering the phones. I am handling complaints, which is the same as what the customer service representative does. So when there's no telephone operator, I am also doing the telephone operator job. I am answering the phones. I am actually making reservations, making payments, checkouts, and stuff, which is actually, if you will look into customer service representative, is still part of their duties and responsibilities.
Okay, that is good to know. So we talk about reference letters, IELTS, ECA. Did you get any challenge applying for an ECA, or was it that so smooth that?
It was kind of smooth for me. So I am actually in Dubai. My university is in the Philippines. My university, so I graduated from University of Santo Tomas, which is UST. They are quite familiar with the process. So I asked a representative to go to the university, and I gave this person like, how do you call it? It's like, it's not a power of attorney. It's
Like
an
authorization
authorization.
letter.
Yeah, so I gave an authorization to this person. I was actually supposed to get this TOR and then ask this person to send it by herself, but my university told that no, actually you can just leave it here and we will send it from our side, and it's cheaper with them because they have partnership with
With the
DHL.
couriers, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I opted for the university to send it on my behalf.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people are actually like not so familiar about the process of applying for an ECA. And I have received several questions about that as well. That's why I would like to share my sister's experience, and it's similar to my experience. She actually had WES, World Education
Mm-hmm.
Services, done her assessment, and I had mine done by ICES. It's the same process. You go online to their website, create a profile, apply for an ECA, and then you do your payment. And then they will send you an email explaining the process that you have to request for a copy of your transcript of
Mm.
records or with diploma from your university or college. And then once done, the school needs to send it, or
You
you could
can send it
actually ask, or you could send it, you get it from them, and it has to be on a sealed envelope
with a stamp and
with the stamp and
signature.
everything, and it must show that the envelope has not been opened by anyone, and then you send it to the designated organization that you chose to do your ECA, and it would take 3 to 4 weeks, I think, or an average a month.
Mine was 30 business days, as I remember.
Yeah.
So it's like almost 1.5 months.
Okay, so like an average of 1 month to 2 months, let's say, they will send to you your original ECA to your mailing address.
Yeah, and then with our case, since our sister is actually here, instead of sending it to our mailing address, like for me in Dubai and for him in like Papua New Guinea, we asked this this associations to send it to our sister's address here in Canada to save some money because it's cheaper that way.
That is correct. Yeah, so it's cheaper and at the same time it's faster.
Yeah.
And it's even safer because along the way you wouldn't know,
Yeah, you don't know where it's
like
gonna
your
go.
your document might go somewhere, right? So, and that is our my personally my worry is that it would go elsewhere. So if you have a Canadian address, they would actually send it through a courier or a registered mail. So you would be able to follow up to see where it's
Mm.
actually going. So it's actually better that way.
Actually, with Wes, aside from them sending it physically, like the hard copy to a mailing address, you will also receive it on your email. And during the endorsement process, I didn't send the physical one, so I just sent the online, which was sent on my email.
Okay.
So it was also valid.
Okay, that's good to know. So you already got your ECA, your IELTS, your e-reference letters. What about police clearances?
So that was one of the challenges simply because I was not in the Philippines and it was really, really hard. I was crying for that. I had to do that from Dubai because I cannot go home for some reason. I had to go, so I live in Edgemont, which is like an hour away from Dubai. I have to go to CID Dubai, have my fingerprints there, and from there they will validate it. The fingerprints you have to send to the Philippines. From the Philippines, you will authorize somebody. This person will bring it to NBI office. NBI will then ask them to come back like after 7 days or 14 days to pick up this NBI clearance, and then they have to send it again to me.
Yeah.
Because for IRCC, when you're applying for PR, you have to give everything original. Not everything, but almost everything original. So that was very challenging. That was very expensive also.
That's true.
So, like for example, if I went home, my flight was around like 1,000 dirhams, which is like 15,000 pesos. And for that, for my NBI clearance, I also spent 10,000 pesos because just for this fingerprint to be taken, it's like $350 dirhams. And then I had to send it by courier, which was like 400 dirhams back and forth. So it's like also 700 dirhams. And then I have to, my mom had to go to NBI and stuff. It was really, really bothersome.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah, that's true. For those who are not aware, one of the requirements of immigrating here to Canada is for you to present police clearances to all the countries where you resided for a minimum of 6 months from the time that you are 18 years old up to the present. So, like, being hoteliers, working overseas,
Yeah.
like it has been a challenge because like my sister, she had to present two police clearances, one from the Philippines and one from the UAE. And for myself, for example, it was a challenge because I had to present five police clearances.
Yeah, I remember I had to meet your friend in Dubai so she can
Yeah,
bring this to Oman and then from Oman back to Dubai. And
that's true. And the process is very the same to all countries. So just to give you an overview, for example, I'm a citizen of the Philippines, so I had to produce an NBI clearance, which is the police clearance. Of course, if you're not in the Philippines, that could be a challenge because obviously you have to go to the embassy, apply for it, and it's so time consuming. And at the same time, it's very costly. It's very pricey as well. Um, in other countries, like when I actually applied for police clearances from Singapore, from UAE, from Oman, from Papua New Guinea. So it's mostly similar procedure. So basically, you have to go to a recognized police headquarters. Like for me, for example, I went to the NBI office in the Philippines when I went back for my vacation and I applied for fingerprinting. So I had to go and apply for fingerprinting assessment. So that has to be authenticated by the Department of Foreign Affairs. So it has to be a red ribbon for those in the Philippines. And at the same time, like when I applied for UAE police clearance, you have to send it actually to UAE embassy in the Philippines for authentication. But in my
Yeah.
case, I actually failed to do that. So I actually gave my sister a trouble of she actually going to
Yeah, I
the
went
Minister of
Ministry of like I don't know Foreign Affairs something
yeah,
like this.
she had to go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and have my fingerprints attested, authenticated by the UAE Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Before
And
going to the
yeah,
CID.
and that's the only time that she could bring my fingerprints to the police station or the CID so I could get my police clearance. A challenge for me when I was applying for Singapore police clearance was that Singapore actually does not issue police clearances to anyone, so I had to apply online I had to apply for an appeal, and I have to show a proof that I needed police clearance because of this immigration. And then I think after a week, I get a reply that my petition or my appeal has been granted. So then that's the only time I could actually apply online, pay the fee, and the same thing, fingerprints original has to be sent to the police station. Luckily, I had a friend who was going for holidays in Singapore, so I actually personally gave her my fingerprints, and she personally went to the police station and she got my police clearance right there and then. So
Mm.
that's the thing about police clearance. Um, so that's why it's very important that you're applying for immigration here in Canada.
Mm.
You have to, as much as possible, prepare or work in advance on your requirements, because that
Exactly.
could really, really take a while. And one of the challenges, or something that I would want to share, because like when I went to Newfoundland and Labrador, I met a manager who was hired by a fast food to come also through AIPP.
Mm.
But the thing is, the processing of his documents, his permanent residence, took a while. I think it took him also a year. So good thing is that when he actually came to Newfoundland and Labrador, he was already a permanent resident.
Ah, okay.
But the thing is, when he went there, the employer already got a replacement for him because the process really took a while. So
Ah, he had some delays
yeah, so in short, he came to Newfoundland and Labrador
without
without
a
an
job.
employer, without a job. And good thing, like being a fast food restaurant manager is very in demand here in Canada. He was able to find a job immediately. But you see what I'm trying to say here is like, what if you're in an industry that is not very much in demand and you immigrated here in Canada? It could be a challenge, especially if you do not have enough proof of funds. That's why it is very important that you have the proof of funds, right?
Yeah, exactly. For example, there were some people who got hired through AIPP and they came here during COVID. So it was like they arrived, let's say like March 15, March 16. That's exactly when the lockdown was imposed. And the restaurant wasn't operating. I mean, it was operating, but they were not taking
Yeah, and
so many
hours
people to
are
work.
cut. So basically,
Mm,
people who came here are not getting the hours that they were promised. And that's something that obviously the employer cannot do anything about
yeah.
it, because that is a natural thing, right? It's not on their control. That's something
Yeah.
that they couldn't control and they couldn't do anything about. So just imagine, like, if you do not have enough funds and you come here in Canada, definitely you would struggle, and you
Yeah.
might end up going home, because I think you might have heard
Exactly.
as well, like people who came in Canada who were not successful and just decided to go home
Yeah.
because they were not prepared.
Yeah, in AIPP they require you like $3,600, but to be honest, based from my experience, you have to have at least $10,000 because if you will think about it, the rent itself will cost you an approximately like $500 per month. The food here is not it's not cheap. Like in a month you will spend around 1,500 to $2,000. So if you will only have 3,600, that's only good for 2 months. If you will have a hard time finding a job, which I actually experienced myself, um, you will just be crying and then going home by yourself.
That's true. And also, you need to consider as well the other expense, such as rent. Renting a house in Canada is very expensive as well.
Yeah.
I think for a room, you could get 450 Canadian dollars, and that is just
Mm.
for a room.
I was lucky. I was able to get a room for $400 with utilities. But yeah, it's a one in a million case. For others, like I've known somebody. She actually arrived in Moncton. She was paying like $600 only for a room without utilities, and that's a temporary place, like only good for a month. After that, she has to find her own place, which will cost her like $1,000 to $1,500 per month.
Wow, that's very
If she will
expensive.
not, if she will not find a roommate, which was very hard during the COVID. Of course, you don't want anybody coming to your home and you're not sure if this person has COVID or not.
Hmm. And another thing to consider is the transportation as well, because
Mm.
like in Newfoundland, I mean in Atlantic Canada, for example, in Newfoundland and Labrador and in New Brunswick, not all cities or towns have a good transportation, public transportation. So if you would be able to find a place which is close to your workplace, that is good.
Mm.
However, like if you would need to commute like for 10, 15 minutes or at 30 minutes, that's gonna be challenging for you, especially during winter.
I was doing that.
Yeah, exactly, right? So
It was
that's
it was terrible to walk like 10 minutes in the cold, because not all workplaces is accessible by bus.
that's true. And just try to imagine as well, like we came from a country we're not used to snow, right?
Mm.
So at first, when you see snow, you're very excited, but eventually you would hate it, especially if you're commuting, if you're actually walking, because the road is really slippery
Yeah.
and you might get
I slipped.
accidents, right?
Yeah, I slipped so many times, and I was sick on my first week. I had to even cancel my flight because I cannot fly. I was sick. It was terrible.
So yeah, so those are the things that you need also to prepare on. And of course, that's why we are having this kind of discussion. So people who are actually aspiring to come here in Canada would also understand what are the things that they should be expecting, because I think the wrong notion, like people in Canada are just having good time, good life, right?
That's
Good
not true.
money, but in reality, that's not how it is. Living in Canada, yes, of course, if you're very hardworking, if you're willing to get to work as many jobs as you could get good money.
Exactly.
But if you're starting, you definitely will be struggling.
Yeah, and don't come here during winter. Aside from the hardship of adapting to the new weather, it's really very hard to find a job during winter.
It is, yeah. Because like of course it's not so busy unless you go to ski resorts or those
Mm.
places where it's good or its peak season is winter. However, majority of the industries here are very slow during winter time, so it's very difficult to find a job
Like, yeah.
as well.
Exactly. So I came here January like 26th, and I found a proper job April.
Okay.
It's like
Wow.
February, March. So like 3 months that I was not doing anything.
Okay. So maybe some tips before we move to the question and answer portion of our live streaming. Maybe Camille could give you some tips or pieces of advice on how you could definitely be successful in your Canada immigration application.
Yeah, as I've mentioned, resume is one big thing. You have to show off. To be honest, you really have to show off that you have the skills in your resume. You have to show that I can speak English the same way as everybody else. Um, you have to believe in yourself. I think that's the big thing. You have to always believe in yourself. Don't give up. It's really hard to find an employer. I know that. It's not easy. I got lucky, and maybe he also got lucky, but it took some time. It's really like you have to try. You have to apply to like thousands of employer. There's the list of designated employer. I also did that. I know the title. I got it through my brother, but I was actually trying by myself with the designated employers from PEI and the Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. It's just like a hit and miss. You either get it or you either have to try again.
Okay, so those that's the experience of my sister, and if of course if you have any questions or you want to clarify on something, of course put that in our comment section before we go through our question and answer portion. Okay, and I think my sister needs to go because she has
I have work
I
tomorrow.
have work early tomorrow. So, anyways, so I can take care of the rest. And I will be reading your questions and definitely we'll go through your questions one by one. So, um, obviously, if you have questions or clarifications about the program, so as I've said, this is also a good opportunity for you to actually put in right now. Okay. So first, I would like to greet our viewers because we have not done so yet. I couldn't see any comments in our Facebook page live streaming. So if you are watching on Facebook, please also feel free to put your comments, your questions, and clarifications. And also, for those who are watching, please hit the like button as well if you are enjoying watching our live streaming today. And as I've said, now we will go through your questions. Okay. So first, shout out to Bakanga. Pa-shout out po, Idol. We also have Manju Kadabi. Hi, brother and sister. How are you? We are very good. Thank you so much. So right now we are here in Camrose Resort in Casino in Alberta. This is where I'm working, and currently I live at the hotel as part of the package. And my sister and my mom are actually visiting me here, so that's why I get the opportunity to bring my sister in our live streaming session. And I told her that it's also a very good chance to share her experience and for you also to learn from her experience as well. Right? Manish Sharma, hello Ray, greetings to your sister as well. Thank you very much, Manish. Angeli Luz, parang kinakabahan si girl. Maybe yes. Baka nga from Saudi, hello, hello. Nice to, thank you very much for watching. Greetings to Saudi. And it's good morning in Saudi, I know. Baka nga, paano po makapunta dyan sa Canada? Nandito po ako ngayon sa Saudi. High school grad lang po. Pwede po ba, idol? Okay, so baka nga to answer your question, you're saying that you are in Saudi and you are a high school graduate. If we are actually talking about AIPP, I would say that there is no chance. Okay. I'm not saying that there's no chance because you're a high school graduate, obviously from the Philippines. So the only way for you to know if you actually qualify for AIPP is to apply for an ECA or Education Credential Assessment. And that is what my sister and I were explaining earlier because in AIPP, the minimum requirement is that you should at least meet a Canadian high school graduate. However, it doesn't mean that that you're high school graduate from your country of origin, for example, in the Philippines, that when you apply for an ECA, you would also get an equivalence of Canadian high school graduate. Because obviously, let's consider the education system in the Philippines. In the Philippines, you only go for grades 1 to 6 and first year to fourth year, which is 10 years of education in primary and secondary, right? Compared to the here in Canada, people are actually going from grades 1 to grades 12. So it's 12 years of education for you to get a high school, Canadian high school graduate qualification. So, of course, different institutions have different ways of assessing. That's why it's very important that if you want to know if you qualify for the program, you get or apply for an ECA. And if you do not reach the Canadian high school graduate standard, then if we're talking about AIPP, I would say that you would not qualify because you do not meet the minimum requirements. Though there are other programs such as provincial nominee program, which sometimes could equate the could actually make the experience could make up to the lack of education as well. So those are the things. But as I've said, first thing you need to do is apply for an ECA. Okay. And Prashant Sarian, do you suggest going through an agent or doing it by yourself? Prashant Salian, thank you very much for that lovely question. Suggesting an agent or doing it yourself is basically up to you. If you think that an agent could help you, why not? If you think that you could do it yourself, then you don't need an agent, right? Because as I've explained in my previous videos, agents basically what they do is they assist you in going through the application process. They explain to you the program, they explain to you the requirements, and they guide you in filling out the forms, making sure that you don't miss anything, you qualify to the program, you are actually complying with the documents, with the requirements, and you don't miss a thing. Of course, if you understand the program that you're actually applying for, you know the requirements, and you're confident that you're filling out the application forms correctly. So basically, to share with you myself, when I was actually applying for permanent residence, I did it myself the same way my sister actually did it. She actually did it herself as well. She asked for some guidance from me because I already went through the process, so I guided her along the way. But we did not actually process through an immigration agent, though an immigration agent helped me found an employer when during the time that I was seeking for employment here in Canada. Okay. Makaka self po. FT, hello from Ajman. Angeli Luz, did you register with LinkedIn? So, Angeli Luz, I have a LinkedIn profile. My sister has a LinkedIn profile that could also be helpful. So, because one thing is that when you're applying for a job, obviously employers are also looking at your social media accounts. And I'll be honest, that's why it's very important that even your Facebook, it still has to look professional, because employers are actually checking on you. So sometimes when you apply, they are just thinking or considering what's written on your resume. But in reality, some employers are actually checking your social media accounts, your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook account. That's why it's very important that you're still professional, and at the same time you show your personality on your social media accounts, like what we said earlier, right? During the interview, the employer wants to know you as a person, not you what you are or who you are right now. So those, and obviously it will be known, or it will be shown through your social media account. So that's something that you should look into as well. Okay. And baka nga hindi pa po, ano yung mas magandang gawin ko ngayon? Salamat po. So yeah, so baka nga what we are actually suggesting earlier is that if you like to start, you could actually start working on the requirements, such as getting your language exam, IELTS, and your education credential assessment, or ECA. And people might be worried because these documents might expire soon. So to clarify this, IELTS or language exam are actually acceptable for 2 years. So it's valid for 2 years, while ECA is valid for 5 years. So in short, you would be able to know your qualifications if you already processed for an ECA. And at the same time, these requirements take a while as well. So it's better that you have them beforehand rather than applying for them when last minute, because it would delay the process. And as I've said earlier, some employers might not be as patient as anyone else. Okay. And Kilindo, hi Ray, this is Kevin from Guatemala. Oh, it's good to see you again, Kevin. Thank you for joining us. Daniel Easy, how can I get a job offer on AIPP? I am a landscaper. So Daniel Easy, first thing you need to do is go through the list of AIPP designated employers. I would encourage you to please check on them one by one. Go through them, the list on the 4 provinces, and see the employers that are actually inclined or related to your job experience. And definitely, once you already know the companies, then better to start connecting with them through Indeed, .ca. Through LinkedIn, maybe you could search people or human resources people or managers working on that company, and it's better for you to easily connect with them and build a relationship even though it's virtual or online, right? And Kilindo, I have a resume and cover letter done so it can be adapted to Canada standards, but so far no answer. I always see this question: are you legally entitled to work in Canada? So Kilindo, that makes sense as well, because not all employers are actually hiring people from overseas right now, especially because of what is going on. There are employers that starts to hire from outside of Canada, and Canada economy is starting to it's restarting right now. So businesses are reopening, but because of what have happened, a lot of Canadians and permanent residents lost their jobs. That's why, of course, the priority is always given to Canadian citizens and permanent residents. But it doesn't stop people from applying because, as I've said earlier, there are already employers who are starting to apply or to hire people from outside of Canada. Okay. Safdar Shaikh, hi, good morning. Excuse me. Um, okay, let's go through other comments. Okay, so now I'm just going through some of the questions that we have received. So Safdar Shaikh, good morning from Dubai. Hello. We also have okay, Angeli Luz, I'm planning to apply but pagod na akong mangamuhan. Okay, so Angeli Luz, if you plan to apply and you're tired of working for or getting an employment and being an employee, that is your choice. Obviously, you need also to understand that coming here in Canada requires sacrifices, and obviously if you really want to apply for Canada, then you also need to start realizing what are the things that you would have to go through as well, because like if you're tired of working as an employee, then coming here in Canada on this pathway might not be an ideal advice for you, right? Because in the end, you need to understand, or you need to make sure that you would enjoy your time here as well. You would not sacrifice, or you would not suffer because of something that you have done that you are not really into it as well. Kilindo, the good part is that I've gotten 2 answers from employers, but the fact that I'm here, it's a thing they mentioned they need someone already in Canada. Okay, so Kilindo, just want to clarify that. Did they actually mention that they need someone in Canada or someone with work authorization in Canada? Because if that is what they explained to you, then that means there's a chance, right, that if you would come here as a visitor, they could actually hire you and process you. Unless they actually mention that they're only hiring people who already have the work authorization here in Canada. So just maybe I would suggest you to clarify that with the employer, so that you would understand better if you have a chance of getting to work with them as well. Okay. The Happy Family, is AIPP still processing work permit application during COVID? Also, are employers really hiring during COVID from outside Canada? So thank you for that question, the Happy Family. As I've said earlier, I know some employers are still hiring, but not much. Not all of the AIPP designated employers. Obviously, companies and businesses have suffered because of this COVID, but others are restarting their business others are even expanding their business, so they are still hiring. And work permit is the employer has the choice actually if they would ask the employees to apply for a work permit or not. For Angeli Luz, what if I want to apply as a caregiver? I have authenticated NC2 for caregiving, but I don't have experience. I have a son, I took care of him. Sorry. Just one second. I'm just going through that question from Angeli. Okay, what if I want to apply as a caregiver? I have authenticated NC2 for caregiving, but I don't have experience. I have a son. I took care of him since birth up to now. Can I make it as an experience? Thank you for that good question, Angelique Luz. So when we are actually talking about job experience, it is very clear that self-employment or any job that you actually work and you do not get paid is not considered as an experience when applying for immigration in Canada. So in that note, if you're saying that you have been taking care of your son because of obviously that's what a mother does, right? Taking care of their children, but you did not get paid for that because that is a responsibility of a parent. So that is not considered as a caregiving experience. So that's something that I would like to clarify. So if you don't get paid for a job that has been done, you're a self-employed volunteer or an internship, they are not considered experience. Safdar Shaikh, I have one question. Can I ask it from you? Okay, please shoot. Angeli Luz, I think West is better and can I apply it online? Um, Personally, I don't know if West is better. Of course, it's just a matter of preference. I had mine in ICES and it's the same process. You could actually
Are you done?
apply it through online as well. So yeah, and basically all of these ECA organizations, you could do the process online. Apple G, almost 10 years na working in a BPO company. Can you please refer me, please advise? Apple G, having a work experience of 10 years in a BPO is a good experience for customer service. So if I would recommend you to please go through indeed.ca and search for potential job openings for customer service representative. In my last live streaming about most in-demand jobs in Atlantic Canada, we went through the list of job hirings and we saw several postings about customer service representative. So I would encourage you to please go online and check through this indeed.ca or the job bank. And of course, if you see this opening, take advantage. Don't hesitate, send your application. And of course, if this employer willing to hire you, even you're outside of Canada, then that is a good thing. So you could start the process. Okay. And Sakhadip Sen. Hey Ray, I hope you are doing well. I'm doing well. Thank you so much. PT, hello guys. Sorry, just joined. Have questions. Is AIPP open now? And if you have any lead for employers, thank you. So PT, yes, AIPP is open. It has even extended until 2021. So that's a good news for everyone. Hedison Vargas, good PM, bro. Ray, good PM as well to you. Angeli Luz, if it's not busy, kinakat ang oras. Yes, that is true. That's why it's very important that you have enough proof of funds because the business here in Canada, you are paid hourly. And obviously, if it's not busy, your hours would be cut. And of course, people are thinking, oh, that should not be happening, right? But you also need to understand that business is business, right? there's no point of getting someone to work long hours if the business is not busy at all. San Kadipsen, it's scary. I am from India and I'm waiting for my IELTS since March and it's frustrating. It can be frustrating, really, true. Angeli Luz, did you apply directly to the company's email address? My sister did apply directly to the email through the company website. When I actually applied, I applied into the I had my application sent through Indeed.ca to the employer, and at the same time, I hired an immigration consultant that referred me or submitted my resume to my employer as well. So, but in both ways, I got an interview from both applications. Sam Kadip Sen, I am currently an assistant manager, training and quality, and I'm working with Concentrics. I have experience of more than a decade. Then that's good to know, San Kadip Sen. So I would encourage you to look for opportunities or to browse through job opportunities or openings on this kind of industry because you have a good experience. Of course, you could also do um, I don't know how old are you, so but if you're an assistant manager, obviously you could qualify for an immigration through express entry as well. So I would encourage you also to create an express entry profile. Ruben Francisco, hi Ray, nice to see you again. May data na ako sa wakas. Ray, ongoing pa rin ba ang hiring sa AIPP? Yes, Ruben, it's good to see you too. AIPP hiring is still ongoing. And God bless to your family. Thank you so much. God bless to you as well. Stay safe. San Kadipsen, I have my ECA and West from West, and it has come out to be college graduate. So that means you're qualified for AIPP. That's good for you. Ruben Francisco, how about okay lang ba magtanong tungkol dyan? Thanks, Ray. Okay lang kung next time na lang kasi nga pala AIPP ito. Ruben Francisco, I'm working on creating a video about this Yukon immigration because I also seen that. So I'm getting more familiar with the process, and definitely once I have, I would create a video and would share it. I would also do common questions and clarification about that program soon. Thank you. Angeli Loser, pwede po ba ipagawa ko sa iyo yung cover letter and resume with a Canadian format? I have LinkedIn account but I don't know how to use it. So Angeli Luz, as I've said, I would post the link on my. With that, you could actually work on reformatting your CV as well. Them. Oh, Red Salazar, it's good to see you. Hi, Ray. Can medical before you apply to PN if you have these in advance already, or there's a need of recommendation from the province for this. Red Salazar, medical, yes, you could do a front medical even without the request from the province. You could do that, and that is what's called a front. Biometrics, I'm not quite sure because you have to have an application in order to be, as I know, you have to wait for the request of the IRCC to apply for biometrics because it's linked directly to your application number. And Red Salazar as well. I already got my electronic ECA result and I'm also ready to take the IELTS. Is taking IELTS now too early given the pandemic and its 2 years validity, or should I take it early next year? Any advice? Red Salazar, I encourage you to take the ECA right now so that 2 years validity of ECA is long enough, because usually, like for example, if you're really interested to apply for AIPP, that will be extended. So if you would take the ECA your IELTS right now, it's still valid by 2021. Ibiyang, hi Ray, good luck to your exam tomorrow. God bless. Oh yeah, I mentioned it before. The exam is actually on Sunday. Sorry, August 9. Thank you. Thank you for the wish, Ibiyang. Jean Cordero, God bless to your exam. Thank you so much. Angie Luz, ang hirap palang apply, mag-business na lang ako sa Pinas. Okay, then that's your choice, Angie Luz. So if you want to do business in the Philippines, that is also good for you. And good luck to the exam. Mas may na pala signal sa Canada, nag-stop ka, sir. Yeah, I'm in a hotel right now, so obviously my my internet might not be as good as what you're having there. So I don't know if there are some more questions that needs to be addressed. I didn't get any questions or comments in our Facebook live stream, so I would assume there is none. And Reza Lazar, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Additional question on a front is valid for a year. Because like for my mom, for example, she there's visa for 6 months, does not require a medical, but for extension, you would be required to do medical. So she did her medical last time she applied for an extension of visa. And again, she reapplied and she was not asked for another medical because her medical is valid for a year. That's what I know. Okay, so Sean, I will give you some more time. Otherwise, if you not have questions, then we will cut our live streaming. And obviously, I appreciate your time, and every time you join me in our live streaming, I'm very happy about that. We had some changes in our live streaming session. It is now happening the same days. If you're in the Philippines, that is Wednesday and Saturday. But instead of doing it at 1 p.m., I already put it at 12:30. So I just made it 30 minutes earlier. And if you are here in Alberta, Canada, I do the sessions on Tuesday and Fridays at 10:30 p.m. And if you have not done so, please share my videos, and so that if you have friends who are interested to come and immigrate here in Canada and learn about the program, so they could benefit from it as well. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel and like our Facebook page, please do that and click the notification bell so you would get notified whenever I create videos about Canada immigration. So I guess there's no more questions. So thank you very much for the time again. I really appreciate that. And see you again on our next live streaming. Have a great day, guys. Bye.